Ladies and gentlemen, I present for your entertainment pleasure, all the way from
to play?
Can he score? Yes, he can.
Omni Sport Africa.
Sport has the power to inspire and unite people on the African continent.
Streaming data free on the MTN network in South Africa. We are Africa's premier sports destination. Live from Mission Control
5, 4, we have a liftoff.
in Josie. Omni Sport Breakfast with MKT and Kevin McCallum.
Welcome to it, sports fans. Friday morning. It's the weekend. International football break is over, hopefully, until Jesus comes back. Thank God. Just this international football, get it out of the way. What an absolute empty calories, if ever I've heard of any. Empty calories. All right, we'll do an EPL preview. Two big games: City, Spurs, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest. That second part, by the way, isn't a Freudian slip or a mistake. From Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, big game. Nottingham Forest are back in the big time. You know, Nottingham Forest won more European Championships. They won league titles. Big team.
Of course, yes. Brilliant team. I mean, the great age of Nigel Clough, Stuart Pearce, Brian Clough. As I said, Nigel Clough. They had a really great team of players.
They did.
I mean, they paid a small fortune for Roy Keane, and then United paid an even smaller fortune, broke the British record to get him from there. And he just had an eye for players, and he was brilliant. He said, look, I'm not in the top. I wouldn't say I'm the best manager in the world, but I'm in the top one.
I remember that. I absolutely loved it. We'll have an unpopular opinion from Daniel Hirsch as well. You never know where it's going to go with him. And then Matt Mann, quite something. If you're into the rugby, you want to be around for that. You want to be around for that at the half hour for that. We had a great chat to Matt Mann. Let's start off in the rugby because we got a big weekend. Kev, how are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to the rugby tonight. It starts at just after 10:10. So I'm actually going to have a long nap this afternoon. Get myself, because I really think that France and Argentina is going to be close. I took them in my bets, the Kev's bets, which are sponsored by or backed by Betway these days. I took them to win, but I'm still up in the air about that. I don't know what's going to happen because France sometimes get a bit up their own asses.
They do,
and that could be their downfall against Argentina. You saw how close they pushed Ireland. I mean, and they're a really good. Argentina under Philip Contoponi are a very different team. They know how to play. They overcome their weaknesses. They overcome the fact that there's such a disparate team that doesn't get to spend much time with each other. But yeah, I think that's going to be my game of the weekend.
I love that. Big rugby tonight. And it starts tonight if you're a sports fan. I mean, and it goes all the way till Monday night, by the way. But let's start off with that rugby, of course. Let's start with that France-Argentina. I think that is a good place to start, Kev. I think Argentina have it in them. I really do. I know you've backed France. Do you think they'll just get overwhelmed by that atmosphere because Stade Denis, they put it on?
So what are they going to do with the lighting tonight? Because they don't have an All Black team doing the haka. They don't have the Argentinians doing the haka. How are they going to almost like pseudo intimidate? I mean, Flip van der Merwe said to us yesterday, said they almost like half intimidated them with that light thing. So they created a barrier between the haka and France, but there was a challenge given, the challenge accepted, but there was still that little sort of no man's land of darkness in the middle. Yeah, there was All Blacks and then there was All Blackness.
Yeah, that's a good question. What do they do to up they've almost, it's almost like giving your best performance on the first date. Then what? You've almost set the bar too high, and then the rest of the marriage is, a bit of a downhill slope. You almost want to start off at 60% and then build up. But now they've really, probably blown their load. Let's call it what it is.
What's a 3-piece suit and then goes into sweatpants, basically. So I'm looking at the team form. So the last 5 games both teams have played. The French just beat the All Blacks 30-29. They smashed Japan 52-12. Just Argentina beat them 33-25. They beat Georgia 43-28. And they last beat Argentina 22-13. So it's all been close. The last 5 meetings, 4 wins by France, 1 by Argentina. Average points scored is 26 to France, 16 by the Argentinians. Los Pomos, I think I'm with you there. I wouldn't mind losing the $50 I put down just to watch them win.
They're a different kettle of fish now. They've gone through Contepomi coming back. He truly understands the fabric of being Argentine, because those Argentines have their own thing going. and a few of the guys weren't willing to come back. Now everyone's coming back from Europe and they're willing to play, and that passion is back. And Karevi's in the mix in terms of being a part of the background staff now. It's a quite brilliant team. What a game that's going to be! Because what you know about Argentina is they're going to throw it around. So it's definitely worth a watch there. The other interesting one, and certainly for the Southern versus Northern Hemisphere side, is what I think about Scotland, Australia, is that Scotland almost can't afford to lose this because they are, let's face it, the second best Northern Hemisphere team, right, at the moment, or depending on what you think of what Ireland have put out. But Scotland put up a better show against us, I think, than Ireland have put up against any of the big teams. And I think if Scotland lose to Australia are probably the fourth best team down here because Argentina put a record on them. If Australia beats Scotland, it's like a real indictment of Northern Hemisphere rugby.
It's a very much an indictment of Scottish rugby. I spoke to a friend the other day, Kobani Bobo, and we talked about it. He said, where do we think the different teams are? And I didn't use the word transition. I didn't use the word development. But I do think South Africa have almost plateaued. Whereas Australia's been a team in development under Joe Schmidt, and he's just stuck his course that this is what the game plan we're going to play. We're going to get back to basics. We're going to play ugly, and we're going to play to our basic instincts, essentially. Get it out wide when we can. But I think rugby in Scotland has plateaued under Gregor Townsend. Hugh Jones says if we don't win this game against Australia, then people can't take us seriously because we beat, Fiji.
Yeah.
We beat Portugal.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the big teams.
But it's true. It's important. If you want to be taken seriously, if you are just joining us, we're discussing the rugby internationals that are wrapping up the Autumn Nation series this weekend. If Scotland don't win this weekend, I don't want to hear it from Northern Hemisphere rugby again for another till the World Cup. British and Irish Lions. It's actually the one Northern Hemisphere rugby team I've respected was that England team in 2003. I thought they were unreal. Johnny Wilkins at the age of 19. I'll never forget him coming here to South Africa, and it was like, who the hell is this 19-year-old in his debut drop kicking from the halfway line? Basically, I don't know if you remember. I think he got I can't remember how many points, 22 points in that debut, or I think he got all the points or something in his debut at 19 years old. And I thought, oh my God, what is this? And then England had a real team: Delalio, Hill, Mike Catt. There was a hell of a team: Greenwood, Ben Cohen, Martin Johnson, Phil Vickery. We could go through that team. It's the one Northern Hemisphere team that I remember thinking, oh God, there's a bunch of men, that's a bunch of, Josh Lucy. Josh Lucy was a man. I think he's an SAS guy. He's from the military.
Yeah, he was. Yes.
You got Ian Balshaw. Jason Robinson. That was a team of men. I've never ever looked at a Northern Hemisphere. I want to be completely honest, and I don't mean this to be funny as a Southern. I've never ever looked at a Northern Hemisphere team and thought, wow, these guys are intimidating. That is the only team. And then there's some British and Irish Lions teams, and we've seen what a shambles they've been. But, those early ones, under Martin Johnson, they were kind of cooking when they had Scott Quinnell, and that was real. But now these Northern Hemisphere guys must, Duan van der Merwe, who's our third-rate Afrikaans guy, you can have him. We do not care. Yeah. I don't know for you, Northern Hemisphere people think we're biased, Southern Hemisphere rugby. We win all the World Cups, so we're not biased.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing about that 2003 England team, I was at the World Cup in 2003, and I got to stay in the Manly Pacific Hotel with the Springboks were staying in the same hotel. Believe me, Bruto Australia was so paranoid. He kept trying to get all the journalists out, but it was too late. We booked our places, and the South Africans would eat in a separate dining room. They had their own little room, and they would eat their breakfast separately, eat their lunch separately. And whenever South Africa got knocked out, I stayed for the extra 2 weeks, and we went back to the Manly Pacific, which is on Bondi Beach. And the England team were there. The England team ate with us. So I was queuing for eggs. And ahead of me in the queue, so behind me in the queue was starting Martin Johnson. I said, oh, mate, you go ahead. He said, I'll take my turn, don't worry.
Yeah.
And it was there was that sense of calmness, confidence. It was the same as the 2007 Rugby World Cup team for the Springboks. It's the same as 2019, I think, for the Springboks to an extent. Very much the Springboks of 2023. And very much the Springboks of 2024 and 2025, hopefully, and beyond. So you have that sense of calmness, that sense of ownership, that sense of camaraderie, and it's not us against it. There's no paranoia. We are this good. We are the Southern Hemisphere champions. We're the world champions. Any other thing you'd like us to win? We don't be the most liked team in the world, most likely to succeed.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, the Lifetime Achievement Award.
You're going to get your little world rugby. The only thing we want to win the World Rugby Awards is that just give it to Eben. Yeah, don't stuff around. Just give it to Eben.
No, 100% with you. And the exciting thing for Southern Hemisphere is that Joe Schmidt is you know what he is? He's just a good rugby coach.
Yeah.
No matter where he's been with Ireland, I think Ireland are benefiting now off the platform that he set. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Farrell. I think Farrell's taken it to the next level. But Joe Schmidt put that team together at the beginning, and then they amplified it with Farrell. They almost didn't let Joe Schmidt finish the sort of process, but so be it. That's the world of sport. I think Australia are excited because they finally look real. They look, just forget about the talent on the field for a moment, just about the shape of the team. I thought they, especially last week, you could kind of see like, okay, these guys are coached. There is something going on here. And Joe Schmidt is an absolute disciplinarian. And he's got that New Zealand type of, once we've set the foundation, we will play rugby.
Yeah, and as he discovered, you need time, and to get time, you need to win, and he's got the time now because he's got a really good win. Let's see if we can get another one coming up. He's up and down, but for me, Joe Schmidt, whenever he came in after Eddie Jones was fired or he left or whatever he did, whenever Eddie Jones was appointed, it was almost like a shock jock coaching experience and shock jock appointment. They were like, it was last minute, get some sticky tape on it, bandage the bloody thing up, and he just tried to change the team by being hard-ass and then trying to drop players like Michael Hooper he dropped. And he thought he'd shock them into playing. But the kids in the team were going, oh, this is not like what do we... And they were in fear. You know, as Danny Kerr, the English rugby player, wrote in his book and basically said Eddie Jones was a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, Joe Schmidt got his time. He's got this kid. I mean, he's got Suali. Joseph Akusu Suali. He's a generational talent. And I think he's going to be... the next great thing out of Australia, possibly out of world rugby. I think Samu Karivi is out. He's 3-match ban, so we'll probably see Suali come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's a Sunday match as well.
Fantastic.
So I think you got Sunday Grand Prix. No, the Grand Prix is going to be later. We can watch rugby in the afternoon. And then the Grand Prix in Las Vegas a bit later.
And the football's nice and late in the Premier League. Ipswich will be beating Man United. So for me, I'm backing Australia. I think Australia are going to win. I think they've got... You know what Australia lost for a bit? Remember when they had that goth lady, Miss Castle or whatever? She looked like a goth and she'd do the goth makeup. I was like, what is she doing in charge of rugby? Can we get a business... Like if we're going to do a business woman, can we not have a goth lady? Like you can't be a goth. I'm sorry. You can't have goth makeup if you're going to be the CEO of one of the most corporate companies in the world. I'm not one of these people. Like, if you want to dress like me, you shouldn't be allowed to get the job to be the CEO of Discovery Bank. Like, dress for the role. And she looked like a goth. Her makeup looked like goth. I'm like, no, you don't get to do that. Man or woman, dress like a CEO. That you're not allowed to go, I want to express myself. If you want to express yourself, go and get your crystals and go and sit in a corner somewhere and do yoga teaching. You don't get to do that there. Transition out of here. Who they got now? Joe Roth, the real rugby man. They got Daniel Herbert in there. I don't know if you've seen. Joe Roth's got all his old guys back. As Michael Hooper, they're bringing him back in. You've seen his on commentary for Channel 9. Yeah. Like, let's just get some rugby people.
I think it's Phil Ward, not the CEO.
Get him in there.
Well, he's Phil Ward. I mean, I've seen him walking around, but he still looks like he didn't when he was playing. He looks like he should never be wearing a suit because it doesn't fit well. It's a bit on the shoulders.
He's shaped like a strawberry, Phil Ward. but that's a rugby man.
Yeah,
like Phil Ward is a rugby man through and through for the Tars. They're back to being Australia. I think Australia win, and Kev's backed France in the bet, so I guess I got to go with it because I did put 100 Rand down. But somewhere deep down, Argentina, I'm not feeling so good about the France thing. All right, move on to the EPL. Man City, Spurs, surely City. I don't know if we need to say anything about that.
I don't know. I can't see Ange doing anything.
Yeah.
James Maddison seems to be in no man's land at the moment in the team. Doesn't seem to have a set place, and Ange doesn't know what to do with him at the moment.
Bentancur's racist.
Yeah,
you can't have that. You can't have a racist.
Apart from the racism, the Maddison, and Ange being confused and angry with the journalist, I mean, I think they might finish a good second.
Yeah,
to City on Sunday.
That's it. Apart from that, everything's going great. Yeah. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and Nuno Espirito Santo doing a great job there. Arsenal in big trouble. I think if they don't win, they're struggling to get goals. If they don't win this weekend, I mean, I think they're out the title race already. But if they don't win this weekend, forget it. Take your ball home.
As you said in the intro, the international break's over until Jesus comes home. And doesn't he play for Arsenal?
He does play for Arsenal. Jesus is home. Oh, God, it's bloody hell. It's Mauritania against San Marino all over again. Arsenal take on Nottingham Forest. I've got to go Nottingham Forest there. I think Chris Wood shocker, and I think Man City in the other game.
Yeah, and the bets we did yesterday, both of us took both teams to score I thought that was the safest bet. The safest way
and
to
I
go for
agree
it.
with that. I agree with that. Oh, fantastic to have the Premier League back. Finally, the cricket's underway. Some cricket that actually matters. Border Gavaskar Trophy will be on the line as India take on Australia in what promises to be the best cricket of the summer as far as I'm concerned. A five test match series at long last. Thank God it's in Australia. Former Australian skipper Ricky Ponting made a comment about Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma's poor form over the last 18 months coming into the series. But head coach of India, Gautam Gambhir, is having absolutely none of it.
What does Ponting has to do with Indian cricket? I think you should think about Australian cricket, and more importantly, I've got no concerns whatsoever for Virat and Rohit. I think they are incredibly tough men. They've achieved a lot for Indian cricket and they will continue to achieve a lot in future as well. I think for me, the most important thing is that they still work really hard and they're still passionate. They still want to achieve a lot more, and that is something which is very important. The hunger in that dressing room is incredibly important for me and for the entire group of people as well in that dressing rooms, and I feel there's a lot of hunger, and especially after what has happened in the last series.
Love that. He's not having it.
Not at all.
What does Ponting have to do with Indian cricket?
Well, I think he should ask Ricky Ponting what the score is. And the score is India are now 98 for 6 in the first innings after 40 overs.
98 for 6.
Yeah, so they're rumping through. The highest score at the moment is Rishabh Pant on 27. Rahul got 26. Jurel got 11. Reddy's on 15, and the fourth highest scorer is Extras with 10.
We'll discuss more of the cricket throughout the week. Obviously, the play throughout the weekend might not last the weekend. We might have Monday, and we're wrapping up the result. Hey, India, play tour cricket. That's what happens. You can't go to Australia and just pitch up and play. All right. Unlike India, with us, winning begins with what you eat. Boost your energy with AGT Foods' range of nutritious grains and legumes. Play better, live healthier. Brought to you by AGT Foods Africa. Good food, good health, good life. Tell you what, these guys could use this guy, because the question of the day is which former Indian cricket Test cricket great was nicknamed the Wall for his solid defense? We'll answer that question before we go to Mr. Man in a bit. All right, coming up, Daniel Hirsch. Who knows? Who knows where this is going?
Strap in, boys and girls. Strap in.
Let's strap yourselves in. Daniel Hirsch, unpopular opinion.
Get on the air and join Africa's biggest Omni sport conversation right now. WhatsApp us +27 788 777716. Think you know African football?
Finally, Bafana have the fans on their side once again. And I cannot stress this well enough. Hugo Broos has definitely received the right form of praise for transforming South Africa's fortunes.
Then get to know Jermaine Egesa.
I, for one, will be one that will actually go on and admit South Africa, especially when they do have the fans right behind them, sometimes can be extremely unplayable.
Omni Sport Africa's premier football show. The world's premier football leagues explored.
Things have actually taken a very dark turn for the Black Stars as they even failed to qualify for the African Cup of Nations 2025 in Morocco.
Monday to Friday, live at omniaudio.africa and streaming data-free on your phone on the MTN network in South Africa. T&Cs apply.
Strength starts with smart choices. Add AGT Foods barley and split peas to your diet for essential nutrients that support muscle recovery. Train hard, recover harder. Brought to you by AGT Foods Africa. Good food, good health, good life.
Omni Sport Breakfast with MKT and Kevin McCallum.
Friday morning, around this time, we have a gentleman. Don't know if he'd call himself that. I don't know how he identifies, actually. We have a human being that he loves sport, he lives for it, he lives for his family. Daniel Herschel, what's going on?
It's Friday, yeah. It's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's Friday, yeah. Good morning, boys. How you doing this Friday morning?
Okay, can't complain. We got rugby tonight. We got football on the weekend. We got cricket already on the go. India, Australia. I mean, if you're a sports fan and you complain about this, it means you can never be happy.
It's a tough time as Indians, huh?
So, well, Daniel, don't pitch up without playing tour games in Australia because you've got the IPL and you think you're rich. You're going to play well in Australia. Those Aussies don't play that nonsense.
A little bit of an Indian arrogance, actually. Well, they think they can just go there and dominate it, 100%. But listen, let's just dive into a little bit of the rugger. We're starting off tonight with Argentina. Who is it? Argentina, France. I know I picked last week and I was close. I picked Argentina to pip Ireland. And I think if not for just a ridiculous TV ref decision, I think that we're, rubbing off that first try and sending the boy off, I think that changed the entire game.
It did.
100%. But I think we're looking at Argentina, France. It's a little bit of a derby, mini derby actually, because you've got half or 3/4 of the Argentinian team playing in France.
Exactly.
100%. So you've got, and I think they've got Kremer back on the bench. I think as amazing as Argentina's been this year, I think one of the key points or one of the key elements to getting that back line moving has been what's his name, Santiago Chacabaras, and he hasn't been on tour. But I think they got ridiculous depth in the back, the back three. And I know Kev picked France in his Kev's picks, but Hershey's picks, I'm going to go for Argentina. I think they're going to cause an upset.
Not the worst bet in the world. I mean, they're good odds.
You.
Yeah, they had very good odds, and yeah, they can surprise. I think they've been tough all year. Look what they did to South Africa in the rugby championship. Put us by 1 point.
No, they're a quality side. They're a proper quality team.
Talk to me about this quickly. Hold on. Now that you're talking about Argentina, you've actually something I was chatting to a mate about. I'd love to hear your thoughts just off the top of my head. How is Pablo Matera not one of the players being nominated for World Player of the Year?
I think, look, there's a couple of problems with this World Rugby nomination. I mean, they've Peter Steff and Colby, 4 ridiculously awesome players. But I think more than Matera missing out, I think if anything, whoever's making these decisions there at World Rugby is definitely on the same magical white powder as David Cruz. Because overlooking, let me tell you, boys, overlooking Ox and Chair for a nomination.
Yeah.
I mean, Helen Keller could see that he's the most dominant fucking player this year. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
And I mean, I heard a stat this week that was saying that, in the history of these awards, there's never been a prop that's won it. There's never been a prop that's been nominated. And I mean, if you really look back at like the top quality front row forwards, that we've had the privilege and honor of being able to watch. You talk about names like Osturant, you talk about Carl Heyman, even Taff Furlong, the Irish boy. They've been exceptional elements in all of these times that these teams that they've been in have been dominated. For them not even to be recognized or to be nominated is honestly, it's an absolute disgrace. And, with Ox, I mean, what does he say? Salads don't win scrums. Well, apparently they don't win World Rugby nominations either.
Maybe it's a bunch of vegans that are doing the award nomination.
I mean, I'm telling you. I mean, I know the awards. I know they look only at the past year. But if we had to look at the Rugby World Cup, and I think the France game, probably the France game and the England game, without Ox there, I don't think we get over the line. No. He was the differentiating factor, and I think if you look at this year, we had the Ireland series. I think probably alongside Doris, Ox was man of player of the series for sure, and I think he's played every single game. In a box squad that's had massive rotation. I think Ox has been a constant. I think he's had more man of the match awards than anyone else. And I mean, it's just an absolute shame for him not to be nominated. And I'll tell you because of this. Rugby as a game, right? The reason that we love rugby is because it's a game for all sizes. You've got your little pipsqueaks who are often your scrummies. You've got your beanpole lads who are your locks. And then you've got your heavy duty boys that are your front row. And it's all that's the beauty of the game. And that's why we all fucking love it. Yeah. It's because it is for everybody. So listen, an absolute disgrace that Ox hasn't been nominated. But I think you guys were talking about Eben being, getting the award. I think, in my opinion, Eben's year was last year. I think he probably should have won it over Sevilla. Mm-hmm. But I think if we're going to be looking at those 4, and again, they're all awesome, world class, proper players. But I think Peter Steff. My opinion, my pick is Peter Steff. I mean, he is a perfect rugby player in every sense of the word. So let's see. Then then we got. I think
hold on. I got a question for you there. Kev, what you got for?
So Peter Steph isn't even going to be at the Awards. He buggered off home last night, so he's going back to.
I mean, they can't hold that against him.
Yeah,
they cannot really hold that against him.
I believe me, they can.
I mean?
I remember in 2007, John Eales, who was on the nomination committee, didn't want the South Africans to be number one until Francois Pienaar stepped up and tried to kick him in the nuts. But obviously, Francois has never kicked anything in his life, so he missed. But you're absolutely right about the props. I mean, no scrums, no win. Daniel Flatman, the former England prop, famously said, I could have played in Jason Robinson's position, but I've been really shit. But if Jason Robinson played in my position, he'd be really dead.
100%. And I mean, Kev, you and me, we're both big boys. We know where the love is. Where the real machine operates. And I think if we want to spin it down, to really look at the Springbok, which I think this Springbok side, I think is probably the best rugby team the world has ever seen. Mm-hmm. And, central to that domination has been our scrum. And, and at the central point there is Ox. So, yeah. But I think, just looking at the Springboks, I never really we never really delved into them last week. How good are, firstly, how good is Rusty? Is Rusty not, is he not the greatest coach possibly across all sports disciplines? And I say that because he's not only has he restructured the entire rugby pyramid in this country, probably from grassroots all the way up to the boardroom at Saharu, but he's literally revolutionized the game. I mean, they're changing the fucking rules every second week just to keep up with the guy.
I mean, he's like an Afrikaans Arne Slot. I mean, basically.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Unbelievable.
No, but I think another thing is that, you look at, when you start talking about the greatest of all time, and I think maybe the Richie McCaw All Black team probably comes into the conversation. I think they dominated the world 2011 to 2015, not taking anything away from them. But they had an expiry date. And you started to see that, as the players getting a little bit older, or, in New Zealand's case, which is another whole different conversation with them going overseas, that team came to an end. And when you look at Rusty and you look at the team that Rusty's built here, we've got back-to-back World Cups. We've got a British and Irish Lions series. We're number one in the world. We've been dominating since 2019. And then you still look at this year. And there's been 51. I think Heinekom's going to be the 51st player to wear the green and gold this year. That's depth. The fact that you can actually turn around and you can start to pick out of any 50 players. I mean, we mentioned it last week. Ireland in the entire rugby pool is 140 players. We've had 51 players playing. We're just going to keep on going. 100%. And I think that what do they call it? The three-peat. Yeah. I think the three-peat's on the card.
So you think Rassie is the greatest? So he's definitely the greatest South African coach of all time. Yeah? I don't think we need to debate that.
I'm saying he's the greatest coach across all sports disciplines ever. I think, if you start to look at what he's actually done, never mind just for where he took us. I mean, I think just before Rassie took over, didn't we get embarrassed by New Zealand with that ridiculous record score? I mean, we were in the lowest, the lowest of the low, and where he's taken the team. But then you start to look at the other sides, the stuff, the stuff surrounding the sport. His decision to pick Siya Kolisi as captain. The way that he may not have been the best player at the time in that position, but Rassie knew he was the best person to lead this team. And it's that kind of a nuance or that kind of an ability of a coach that he's just got, and he's awesome. He's absolutely awesome.
Got a quick story for you then. I was fortunate enough to be in the room through whatever finagling I managed to do. The first day, Rassie addressed all of the unions and the rugby coaches. He separated the union bosses and the rugby coaches. And one of the things he addressed first was that, the quota system was always a big thing. It was the first thing he addressed. He told every coach, didn't ask them, he told them, guys, go back to under 13 Craven Week. I expect 3 black players in every position by the next cycle that we have here. And he wasn't asking, he was telling, He wasn't, and there was no we're messing around here. And to be honest with you, when Rassie came back, I was kind of like, ugh, are we going to go back to that old style of rugby? But in that moment, I realized, oh, this guy gets it. It's not just about what's going to happen with the X's and O's. It's like, oh, this guy's thinking more presidential. He's thinking about what's the role of the significance of what this team looks like. And he acknowledged 100%. It. He was the first person in South African history that acknowledged it and didn't want to have it as kind of a seedy thing in the background. You know, I don't want to be some Nostradamus, but it was at that moment in that room that I was lucky to be in that I was like, okay, listen, I'm fighting myself here. I think this guy's onto something. Daniel Hirsch thinks Rassie is the greatest coach of all time. Daniel, we need actually like an hour with you. We should just let you have your own show.
I'm telling you, boys. I'm telling you, boys. Tell me when and where. Let's move away a little bit from the rugger. I think let's touch, finally.
Cool. I got 1 minute for you, Dan. 1 minute for you. Okay, wrap into the football.
International break football's done. We're back with the EPL. I'm going to go Hershey's a couple of Hershey's picks. I think Forest do Arsenal. I think Spurs do City, and Liverpool wrap up the title before December.
Oh God! You know, on that note, good Shabbos to you. Liverpool wrap up.
You'll never walk again, Hershey. You never walk again. Alone.
Never walk alone.
An unpopular opinion. Amen. An unpopular opinion indeed. Spurs do City, Forest do Arsenal, and then Liverpool are wrapping up the title in the middle of November. Dan Hirsch, appreciate you. Have a great evening, brother.
Have a good one, boys. Ciao. Bye.
He's unreal, that guy. Liverpool wrap up the title. All right, let's quickly answer our question for India, who are in big trouble. A score update there, Kev?
So it was 118 for 6-9. So Rishbha Pant is still not out on 36.
118 for 6. All right, they're in big trouble. They could use this guy. Which former Indian Test cricket great was nicknamed The Wall for his solid defence?
Yeah, Rahul Dravid. 164 Test, 13,288 runs at an average of 52.31. Just extraordinary player, and he was an extraordinary captain for the team as well. They beat South Africa at the Wanderers, I remember once, and he came in, and we walked past it, God, his shirt sweats, and someone patted him on the back and went, "It smells of beer." And he said, these kids, they can't drink in the change room. They just poured beer all over him.
That's absolutely hysterical there. Well, coming up next, we got an awesome interview that I think Kev did. Kev, talk to us about Matt Mann.
So Matt Mann's an expat South African. He's lived in England for the last 17 years. His accent is still spot on. He married a South African. His kids are basically English-speaking English accented South African fans. There's no sort of cross culture there, but he's got this website and an Instagram and YouTube channel called SA Rugby Oak, and it's hilarious. It just is hilarious. You got to watch it. They talk about drinking brandy. He gets his English mate to drink different types of brandy, and the guy's got sparks in his eyes as he goes through the different types. But he's really funny and he's really passionate, and it speaks to what Rassie said after the World Cup final. Said, don't let them talk shit about South Africa.
Yeah.
And he makes sure they don't talk shit about South Africa.
Love to hear that. Matt Mann.
Get on the air and join Africa's biggest Omni sport conversation right now. WhatsApp us +277